Hey, welcome to Tuesday, to a binder full of Tuesday, no less. How's it going, James Chen?
I'm doing good, Mr. David Graham.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that. So we're fresh off the victory from earlier tonight, and now to talk about video games instead.
Yep.
We have a few things that we're going to talk about today. It's going to be kind of a mishmash of stuff.
Right, as typical. I mean, that's why we wanted to call it random mashing, and then people said that was butt, so, you know, I guess that wasn't going to be random mashing, so.
Yeah, so we didn't get to go with that name. But hey, at least this way we get to keep coming up with ridiculous names every day. And we wouldn't have been able to call our show Binder Full of Tuesday.
So. Fair enough.
I'm okay with it for today.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So you can probably see from the title, but what we're going to talk about today is the Street Fighter Cross Tekken patch, the Street Fighter 25th anniversary tournament that's going to be coming up in Los Angeles this coming weekend, and then after that we'll talk about the League of Legends tournament that paid out $1 million for the first place winner and what that means for
it sparked a lot of conversation about basically. The FGC, so we'll talk about that a little bit. Yeah.
Right, we won't spend too much time talking about the actual tournament. That's not our expertise.
Right.
At least not yet. Oh yeah, working on that.
You're working on it. I have no pretenses.
Yeah.
But anyway. I mean, the first thing we want to talk about, kind of continuing from what you were going over a little bit yesterday, Cross Tekken. Showing a little bit more of the high level play, which was actually cool because a lot of the characters were the DLC characters. Right?
Yeah, there was a Jack in there, and there was a Cody in there. Yeah,
exactly.
A couple of new ones, and two characters in Troublesome and Julia who have just been good the whole time, but for whatever reasons haven't been, the common high-level tournament characters that you see when you're watching whatever tournament it's on. So,
but obviously, as a lot of people in the chat were saying yesterday, they still think that the game has a lot of problems, a lot of issues. And everybody knows that the game is not the most enjoyable to watch. There's a lot of timeouts and stuff. So.
Yeah. I mean, even though I like playing the game, I can't make the argument that it's as fun to watch as Marvel, for example.
So, Capcom has recently said, that they're going to try to address those issues as much as possible, and that they are coming out with a brand new patch, hopefully by the end of this year, sometime in December, potentially, and they are going to change a lot of things in the games to try and reduce the timeouts.
Yeah, to try to appeal to what people have identified as being the issues. People have identified the fact that it's not just a timeout necessarily, it's that games tend to be long. Even when there aren't timeouts, games obviously do end sometimes relatively earlier, but, it can take a whole round, and that's just a new way of playing a game, in my opinion, but that's been, pointed to as being a big problem. And so they have a few things that they've been doing, try to address that, presumably also just to address balance changes. I don't know. So here's some of the ones that they have come out with, and this is obviously not a complete list. This is just what's been leaked. Throws have been changed from 5-frame startup instead of 7-frame startup. Throws, are not very good in Street Fighter Cross Tekken, not much range and long startup. So that's at least something to be able to open people up a little bit better, which is nice.
Dude, they should just super turbo it.
Instant throws.
They should just go to 0-frame throws.
Instant throws that. Get the vacuum going in.
Dude, I think that would be amazing.
Do 25% damage.
Dude, how good would the game be if that was like that? Honestly.
Look, I love me some ST and some hyper fighting and stuff, but I don't think that works in that kind of situation.
I mean, honestly, I think like a 3-frame throw, just like Street Fighter 4.
Just like a lot of games.
Yeah, exactly.
4 is not the first one that's had that.
I don't know why it was up to 7 in the first place, and I don't think reducing it to 5 is going to make much of a difference.
You know what? I don't see that it's going to make a huge difference, but I guess we'll see. So, Tekken characters also have improved anti-airs. Regenerable health regenerates at a lower rate and is a more obvious color. Right now it's a yellow and then like a weird yellow. And so hopefully it'll be a different color. And that's nice. So regenerable health regenerating more slowly means that you won't get situations where a character gets tagged out. And because, I don't know how much people remember about this game, but different types of combos allow you different types of different amounts of regenerable health. And so if you're getting bopped by like boost chain combos constantly, you're getting a ton of your life able to be returned to you in regenerable life. And that means that if you tag out, now your character can get all his life back, and the the game will go on longer.
Right.
Or can go on longer. And so this is another way to make it end a little bit faster.
It's a little more dangerous because honestly, in Marvel, you have a lot of situations where, when we do commentary, like, look how much red life this guy's going to lose when he comes in.
Right.
Like, that almost never happens in Cross Tekken.
Yeah.
Most of the time when people lose a lot of their regenerable health is when they do it on purpose with tags and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it could actually be a strategy that you can try to beat up the point character fast enough that the other guy hasn't recovered enough life.
Right.
That almost never happens. By the time you've beat up a character so that they want to tag out, the other guy has gotten all their life back. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Definitely happens. A couple of the other changes are that the camera has been changed to speed things up. This was a little bit unclear to me. I guess what it means is that there are fewer cinematics, or that the cinematics are sped up.
Right.
I mean, that's my guess. Gems don't look as horrible as before.
Yes. Cosmetic.
Yeah, obviously just cosmetic change. And then there are some character changes too that they listed. And again, obviously this is an incomplete list, presumably even for these characters. So Ken's super moves him forward more. Dictator's super is projectile invincible. Kazuya's WGF is now fully invincible. Fine, whatever. And then Bob and Paul walk faster. Now that's important. It's important that they walk faster. It's a problem for Paul that he can't walk that fast. I mean, it makes it that he has a harder time opening people up. He can't play footsies really. He has a hard time pressing. It's an issue. So that can definitely help that character. Basically, none of the other changes. So here are the changes that I think matters: walk speed, regenerable health.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, like you said, the throw thing, 2 frames. Okay, it's it's a little bit of a change, but with nothing mentioned on throw range, I don't really see that you'll be able to throw throws out much more often.
0 frames.
Right?
0 frames.
I mean, it can be 3 frames, but really what the problem is not just the slowness of the move. It's that it just takes a while. Cross Tekken right now is a game where it's funny when you see somebody get hit by throw. You're almost like, wow, throw is so bad that it's good because people don't expect a throw.
Right. The worst thing, actually the thing that I don't like about throws the most in that game is whenever you do get thrown, I always just feel like, oh, I got thrown, so what? But like in other games when I get thrown, it's just such a big deal. Like, oh, holy crap, I'm going to die because I've got thrown now, right?
Yeah, man,
like,
you just got back thrown by Cammy.
And unblockable and you're dead, right? So nowadays, in Cross Tekken, you get thrown, it's almost like, oh well, throw me more, I don't care,
Yeah, the thing is that the damage is not insignificant. They're like 140 to 150, if I recall correctly, out of, the normal 1,000 life health bar, which is not irrelevant, but you have 2 health bars, and whenever you get thrown, you get to play this roll or not roll mix-up. So it's a little bit, that's one thing that people like about the game is that you don't have the same kind of crazy vortex pressure, so you can kind of get away and reset things a little bit more easily.
I would have liked it. I mean, I've suggested this before, and obviously people who play this game more than me, have told me that this probably is not a good change or whatever. You could let me know. But I've always said that rolls should be throwable, and that once you get thrown, you can't roll. So if you predict a forward roll, you would throw them, and then you get a Yomi on that. You get a mix-up situation. That's kind of what I had thought. Might have been kind of a neat thing to do, right? I mean, throwing rolls has been a common game mechanic. It's in Persona, it's in CVS2, it's in like so many games. So I just feel like if you predict they're gonna roll and you risk it by not going at them and they roll forward and you do throw them, now you get a guaranteed mix-up on them. And then if you do get a regular throw, you also keep them on the floor to get a guaranteed mix-up. But that may result in unblockables. That may result in vortex, and
I mean, it does have the same stupid Street Fighter 4 nonsense with unblockables. I mean, I found an unblockable in like the first month or 2 of the game. It's just a weird setup that is you got to spend meter to get. So it's rare, but look, I don't like the roll. I don't think I've made any secret of that, and I've specifically looked for option selects and other ways to deal with the roll, that either to take it out or to beat it if it comes out. But look. If I'm rebalancing third strike, what do I want to do? I want to really nerf the parry, but I'm rebalancing it for the third strike players who like the parry.
Right.
And so if I were able to balance third strike, I wouldn't do that because I don't want to take the game away.
Right.
I don't want to change the game for people who like the game. Exactly. And I feel the same way about the rolls. Do I like them? Not really, but I know that there are people who like the game in significant part because they don't have to deal with the vortex, they don't have to deal with that, whole Street Fighter 4 kind of crazy wake-up pressure game. And so I wouldn't take it away. And frankly, I don't expect that they'll take it away. I've always thought it's weird that their reason for putting in the roll is that you can roll in Tekken, right? Once you get knocked out.
Right.
But the thing is, if you roll in Tekken, if I back roll in Tekken, or if I forward roll, which is really what they are, because that's you roll forward. That's dumb. Roll forward, like that comes into play so rarely.
Right.
So it's always been a weird choice to me. But since it's in there, I wouldn't get rid of it. But I guess we'll have to wait to see what the full list of things are. Like you said, it's supposed to come out in December.
Yeah, they've got to be tweaking a lot of stuff right now. They've got to be doing a lot of work.
What was that? What were the changes in the the iOS version?
Oh, the iOS version was interesting because the secondary character wasn't a character. Like they had no life bar. They had a timer bar. So whenever you tagged them in, they would just sit there, and then as soon as the timer ran out, they would tag out automatically. And every time you hit them, you just drained their timer bar. So basically, you could force a character switch by killing them and then killing the point character. So the whole goal was to kill the point character. And I thought that was actually a fascinating mechanic. I actually kind of like that. It's a huge twist on the team game. And, Pandora kind of makes more sense in that mode because the secondary character is not even someone that you have to protect and stuff. So I don't know. I thought it was a really cool idea, and I thought that might have been an experiment for the actual version, but who knows if that's going to happen.
Right. I mean, personally, I think the things that they need the most change are, again, allowing for roll staying, even though I don't really like it. I think that the size of the stages have to be shortened. And I think that the walk speeds have to be increased almost across the board. Not entirely across the board, but almost. And I feel like those and throw range increased, and those things I think would really help the game without changing it that much.
Obviously, trying to decrease the stage sizes probably can't happen.
No,
because they
I
don't
wouldn't
want to
think
waste
so.
the thing. But I'm almost thinking maybe they could zoom out a little, put the characters a little further forward if there's room or something.
That'd be kind of it, like increase the size of the character relative to the stage. Effectively.
Because they're a little forward, so that way the screen.
I haven't thought about that.
But I don't know, like
nifty.
on the stage with the roof, like would they be standing on the edge of the roof then, or something like that? Or
right. I don't know, but that's kind of an interesting idea. I don't know, man. I guess we'll have to see. But we got a tweet from Ricky Ortiz just before we went on the air. I don't know if you saw this, but he said, talk about how fun Street Fighter Cross Tekken is, because he was talking about how during the debate he was playing Cross Tekken, and then Ryan Hunter was like, I thought I was the only one, and then I was like, nope, me too. So look, it is a fun game. I think it's fun. Is it fun to watch? It's not really fun to watch, even for me. But it's interesting to watch. It's a different thing. Is it crazy go nuts like Marvel or KOF or something like that? No, it's not. But it's an interesting strategic gameplay that I think can be compelling.
Yeah, so. I mean, I like making people mad by my crazy statements, so I'm just gonna make this statement.
Go ahead.
Cross Tekken is like the baseball of fighting games. Boring as hell to watch, and some people kind of enjoy it for some who knows why reason. So okay.
I think baseball is more boring to play than to watch. Anyway.
Right. So, do we want to just move on to the next topic real quick about the 25th anniversary tournament coming up here?
You know what? Let's take a break because I'd like to spend a little bit more time talking about that.
Sure.
Yeah. I got a bunch to say.
Okay.
It's gonna be a good one.
No problem. All right, we'll be right back.
Okay. I haven't really settled on anybody in LoL yet, actually. I've been just kind of like screwing around with a bunch of different characters and playstyles. I can tell you I don't want to be support because that sounds like the bitch of the team. But lots of other things.
Come on, that's like goalie status, right? In hockey.
Goalie?
Right?
No, you're not the goalie. You're just helping people out. Like,
but
you're like not doing anything.
You're like the defensive linchpin of the entire affair, right?
I played defense in all the sports I played. In hockey, in football, even in basketball, I played better defense than shooting or passing or anything like that.
Okay.
I like defense because if it's a sport, it's like a one-on-one thing. I got more pleasure out of stopping somebody from scoring a goal than I did from scoring a goal because I got to screw with that guy.
Fair enough.
I don't feel like that in LoL. So
anyway.
Okay.
But wait, in LoL, are you EMP_?
I couldn't fit EMP Kerrigan's Butthole, actually.
Oh, that's right.
So I just went with Kerrigan's Butthole, but just BUTHOLE because it wouldn't fit otherwise.
So you're one missing letter then. Okay,
yeah,
fair enough.
But it's pretty clear. What's
cool.
going on. So this coming weekend in Los Angeles, finally a tournament that we can be local for.
Right? It's at the Proud Bird.
It's at the Proud Bird, where, if you don't know, Wednesday Night Fights met for quite a while, and revelations and what's happened. This weekend is Street Fighter 25th Anniversary qualifier in LA. Last weekend was in Brazil. This coming one is in Los Angeles. And, of course, the same 4 games are going to be there that have been there the whole time. It's Super Turbo, well, really HD Remix, but the Super Turbo version of it, classic mode. Then Third Strike Online, then Street Fighter Cross Tekken, and Street Fighter 4. And I'm really looking forward to this, I gotta say.
Well, it's really interesting because I was expecting, because when we went to New York and Austin, we got a lot of locals there with the guys who travel all the time, right? So we saw Justin, we saw Ricky there, and such. But the people traveling to this tournament seems to have, I mean, it's like on another level. It's like, I guess maybe it's because it's the last one in the States, so everyone's like, holy crap, I gotta get in on this before it's gone, right?
Right, so here's the list of people who are coming that we know of. In Third Strike, Mester is coming. I couldn't believe it when I heard this. It blew my mind. Like, it was like,
dude, are we still being trolled? Are we still being trolled,
It
right?
didn't make any sense.
Dude, why doesn't Mester go to one of the Asian qualifiers?
Well, what I heard, actually, was that, Fubar Duck put this on Twitter, that there was some issue. They didn't know that they could actually get Japanese players in the Japanese qualifier or something. It was like something weird having to do with tournament rules in Japan. Whatever. So he's coming. I'm sure people watching right now don't know who Mester is, but Mester is one of the old school and best Third Strike Yuns who originated a lot of the interesting Ganejin technology for that character. I mean, he's a significant part of why Yun ended up being one of the 2 best characters in that game.
He basically was the one who introduced Ganejin combos to America at EVO 2002 at UCLA in the 5v5. We were still going with Sorai Rengeki with Yun, and then all of a sudden he came with Ganejin and blew us up, and all of us were like, what the heck? We thought Ganejin, because Ganejin was broken in Street Fighter 3. In Second Impact, it was horrible, and then in Third Strike, we thought it was still bad. And then Mester came over, and we were like, holy crap, what the hell? Yeah. So yeah, it was pretty interesting to have that happen. So.
This is like one of the old school players coming back to play in Los Angeles,
of all places.
Why?
So,
but I mean, that's great. I can't wait.
And I saw someone write, before we move on to the next player, I saw someone write, bring Pyro Lee back. And this is a call out to all of you SoCal Third Strike players. Dude, go play. I know you guys don't like console versions. Whatever, dude, play. Like, we need these guys to come and destroy people.
They are definitely not watching. I can guarantee that.
Right.
But if they were, I definitely agree. And I actually wanted to talk about that before going on to the next couple players who are coming, just to remain talking about Third Strike. So, Third Strike in America had a lot of different places where people were good, but in my opinion, the best players were in Los Angeles.
Specifically Family Fun Arcade.
That's exactly right. And we mentioned it when we talked about how Family Fun Arcade seems to be closing down before the end of this year. We talked all about how the Third Strike scene was back in the day, but just to repeat this anecdote, this was in the mid to late 2000s. One of my buddies from the East Coast, where I had been living, came out to visit in Los Angeles. And, he wanted most to go to the arcade. He wanted to go to Family Fun because he had heard about it. They had been putting out media, one of the very few locations that had been putting out tournament Ranbat media, and you could see how good the players were, and there was already awesome Rockefeller commentary.
Yeah, exactly.
So he wanted to go see that, and he brought his camera, and he took pictures of the arcade from the outside. He took pictures of the big boy cab near the front, which is where the best players would play and not be happy if scrubs played there. And then there was this whole, maybe 10 cabinets long. So you walk into the entrance and you see like 10 cabinets. There's like
head-to-heads.
Yeah,
right?
all head-to-heads. It was like 2 or 3 third strike machines, and then there were
Super Turbo.
Yeah. There was a Marvel and
X-Men.
and then at the end there were another couple third strike machines. It was like the third strike place.
Yeah, I mean basically the way Pyroly described it was there was Family Fun Arcade and everything else was Mongolia.
Yeah,
like he was just like he had no respect for any other place at all. Not saying he's right, but he definitely had an argument.
And here's the thing. When you see who won Evolution in those years, those were already console tournaments. And, the guys who played at Family Fun and who then went to Denjin and who now in some cases show up at Super Arcade, it's not a console scene. They have always refused to adapt to console games. Mm-hmm. And when there's a console tournament, they just won't go. It's a different game, frankly. I mean, it's slightly different, a little bit difference in speed. In the PS version, they're in the Third Strike Online version on PS, there's a little bit of extra stuff as well, and so they just don't support it because they still have Super that they can go to. I mean, it's still around, and in fact they still do show up. So they just
that MVC2 mentality. Let's play the console versions,
dude. But even Marvel 2, those guys went to console in larger numbers than LA Third Strike players did. So they just won't go, and I remember when Family Fun, so when Evo was in LA, and even when it was in Vegas after that, there were always pre-Evo tournaments at Family Fun in Third Strike, and the person who won Evo didn't win those things. Yeah, it was SoCal guys, right? Because that was the strength, and you just didn't get to see it, and you know what? You're not gonna get to see it this weekend either, and I'm so sad about that. Especially with Mester showing up, I'd be flabbergasted even more about Pyroly or Yi coming than about Mester coming.
Yeah, and you know what? One guy sits here, Nightsaber says all those guys would lose to Justin's Ghetto Chun-Li anyway.
I don't think so.
That's not true. No, they've played, and Pyroly has consistently beat Justin Wong because in the East Coast they did not have any strong young players. They just didn't have it, and so it was always really, really... It was a tough fight. Justin could win, Pyro could win, but it was definitely an even fight.
It wasn't the case that SoCal lost anybody, and if worse went even. Right. But I figure the only one who at all has a chance to show up out of all of those players is probably Amir. Amir hasn't really been the same kind of anti-console kind of guy. He played Street Fighter 4 on console. I've seen him. He's played Marvel 3, etc. And Cross Tekken. He does that stuff. Gutex will for sure be there. I'm sure about that. Yeah. He was at the one in New York, so it would be weird if he didn't show up to this one and play. But for the most part, you're just not gonna get to see that. So at least we'll get to see Mester. I wish we could see other people. Right. I really do, because this is going to be one of the last hurrahs for Third Strike. I already thought that the hurrahs were over, and now Street Fighter 25th anniversary brought it back, and I feel like this is the last best chance.
Hey man, if those console guys come and just played, it doesn't have to be the last hurrah.
No,
that's the thing. That's the thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I know holding on to trust us. We're as much from the arcade as anybody else. We want to grip onto the last remnants of arcades as much as possible, as much as anybody else does. But, dude, you got to move on at this point in time. I mean, we can get into this during the LoL, when we talk about the LoL World Finals, but I'm really starting to think that a lot of the old school mentality needs to start going away. Okay. And which is weird because I'm as old school as you can get. Yeah. But we'll get into that later on. So
that's Third Strike. I just heard that Chirithi is going to show up to Third Strike too.
Yeah,
we heard it in
Canada, not Canada.
Yeah,
Canada.
Yeah. So I guess he's going to show up. Obviously, he's a strong player. He showed up at New York, and I forget what place he got, but he did well. Yeah. But I guess didn't end up taking it. I forgot who. Oh, it was the Yang player. Okay. Whose name Anyway, that's stupid to me.
Yeah, but Chirithi apparently, straight off of his win from T13, he is going to be showing up to the Street Fighter 25th anniversary tournament here.
Yeah, Nika KO. Thanks.
Oh, yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, but he's going to try to take Street Fighter 4 here, and obviously, he's been doing really well in tournaments, and probably has a really good chance in this one. So
I'm sure he does.
But see, now here's the interesting thing is, obviously we talked about it. I talked about it yesterday about Cammy Unblockables obviously becoming super strong character, right? So, but here's the thing is, I don't know if you've been following Justin's tweets. He was like, I found a Rufus Unblockable now to see if I can practice it and get good at it.
He's had Rufus Unblockables. You can go on the forum and find them. I'm surprised you... Anyway,
but to me, I mean, he's probably never practiced them before. Just like in CVS2.
Yes, that's true.
In CVS2, he was not a role canceling player until very late.
Yeah, and he's still not really an option select player, except in a few situations.
Right, and so, like I said yesterday, this is the path that Street Fighter 4 is going down.
Yeah,
it's going to become the unblockable game, and so. A lot of players are looking to, people are saying, like, eventually Marvel's going to go down the path of TAC Infinites. Street Fighter 4 eventually going down the path of unblockables. I just feel like there's just going to be unblockables everywhere. So
we'll have to build some anti-unblockable stuff.
Yeah. See, that's the next evolution.
That's the next evolution. Finding out which ones you can jump out of into a reset. Finding which ones you can whiff a normal under. Those are there. So I'm sure we'll get to that eventually. So that's Street Fighter 4, and then in Super Turbo, there's a really strong local scene.
Oh yeah.
Guys in SoCal who qualified for the Tournament of Legends, quite a few.
Right.
Actually, I haven't talked to them about whether they're going to show up, but I would think.
I'm sure.
I would think that they will.
See Mongola RoboCop and all these guys.
Yeah, I'm sure DGV will be there,
yeah, exactly.
and the whole set of. I hope
Snake Eyes will probably be there.
Yeah, Snake Eyes, I would think. Like Papercut, hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully a lot of guys, and hopefully there'll be some really good action. And then in Cross Tekken, Jibbo's actually going to come.
Which is really awesome.
I'm so happy about that, because one of the things that I was unhappy about with Cross Tekken was that the players who were doing the cool things just weren't really traveling that much.
Right.
And Jibbo showed up to Civil War, which was great, and did pretty well there, and that was cool, but he didn't really travel, as far as I know, very far otherwise, except for to EVO.
Right, and it was really cool that Tatsu went to New York and was able to win Cross Tekken there, because he played it super efficiently. He he bodied everybody, frankly, and it was really awesome to see that the guy who put in the dedication won. So
yeah, definitely. So hopefully Jibbo will do well, or at the minimum show that he has really cool stuff in the game.
Yes.
But it's going to be cool because it won't just be one guy who's going to come and play Cross Tekken. I've been talking about the top players who like Cross Tekken, so it's not just Jibbo, but Justin will be. What, has he already qualified? Actually,
Justin qualified.
He already did.
He won Austin.
Did Ricky?
Yeah.
Ricky already did.
They got
too?
first and second. In
okay. So those guys are going to show up, but I guess they won't be playing in Cross.
Yeah, but Andy OCR is going to be playing.
Andy OCR will be there. Richard.
Play,
presumably PR Raw.
I do want to confirm. Yes, this is Jibbo, the Gen player.
Yeah.
Excellent Gen player, also known as Automatic online as well, and makes a lot of really good music, so check that out. I think you can find like a SoundCloud for him and stuff like that. So he did one of the songs for one of the EVO intros, not this last year but the year before that, so he did the Tekken intro.
Oh, so, sweet. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. It's like youtube.com/automatic or something.
Yeah, CO
MATTOCK.
Yeah, there it is. It's there. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, there it is. Good
okay,
stuff.
Cool.
Thank you.
So he'll be showing up, and I'm sure he's expecting to do well, or hopes that he can do well. But really, what I mostly hope out of his presence and the tournament in general is that Street Fighter Cross Tekken gets continue to be shown for an interesting game. So in Brazil, you had some cool stuff.
Yes.
Right, and I went over it all of yesterday on Level 3 Focus with Gamer B, Jack Julia versus Tokido, Sim Cody. Really interesting set. I hope that the same thing will be this coming weekend.
The coolest thing about it is we really haven't seen a lot of Cross Tekken with the DLC characters yet.
Yeah.
And I know guys like Justin and Flo have been practicing those DLC characters.
I know they have, yes. And I know that Ricky has. And, that Cody that won down in Brazil is not going to be the only Cody. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I know other people have been looking into characters like Sakura, and I know other people have looked into Jack, and but it seems like a few of and Dudley seems really good. So hopefully we'll get to see that stuff.
Yep.
That'll be this coming weekend. It's going to be on twitch.tv/Capcom Fighters.
Oh, okay.
Which is on the new channel. Yeah. I think Hans will still be streaming that though. He was even down in Brazil.
Yeah.
So he's been making the rounds. He
went to Taiwan as well. So, but the event itself is going to be run by the Level Up crew. So they're organizing the tournament and stuff. So you know it's going to be a well-run tournament. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and the last time to register for that, if you haven't yet, is on Thursday.
Oh, okay. Is it Saturday, Sunday only, or is there anything going on Friday?
I believe it's Saturday and Sunday only.
Cool.
Yeah, as the previous ones have been. So make sure that you tune into that. Hopefully this will be up on YouTube beforehand, so you can get the word in advance of that as well.
Okay.
So, okay.
Sounds good.
Let's take another break, and we'll be back with more Tuesday after this.
All right.
Man, this orange is so hard to open.
Dude, you got one of those annoying oranges, huh?
Yeah, it's like some oranges are fine. Like you open it up in like a single fingernail and you're good.
I know, right? But
this is
see
like
this has
digging,
a weird extra layer of skin.
Like going into the Earth's core over here.
Exactly. Jeez, oranges, man. Who knew fruit could be so troublesome, man?
Well, you know us. We're not afraid of fruits.
Yeah, that's true, and we're really good at peeling back that skin. So.
Well, it's almost naked now. All right, so you wanna get going on this?
Yeah, sure. Let's do that. Let's get back. Okay. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Welcome back, everybody.
Hey, let me just put this down.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. Okay.
So, so last weekend was another tournament that wasn't a fighting game tournament, but we did want to touch on it over the last half of the show because it was a big event and sparked a lot of debate, not just in other parts of the competitive gaming community, but specifically a lot of debate in the fighting game community. And that was the League of Legends Championships
World
Finals put on by Riot, the company that makes the game in LA, where the winning team won $1 million. $1 million.
$1 million, yeah.
And there was a total of $2 million, I believe, in the prize pool, in the total prize pool, which I think was for the top 8. That's what I've read. God, it's freaking
dude, there's a
juicing everywhere.
Sorry, God. I'll be careful next time.
Please do. and so, okay, here's what I want to talk about at the start before we even get into the fighting game community side of it. I think I want to look into how worthwhile this was. How economical was this?
Right, because $1 million sounds like a lot of money.
I don't mean for Riot. I mean for the players.
Right. I mean, that's the thing, is when you win $1 million, you're like, yo, I won $1 million.
Right.
But you really have to think about it very carefully.
Right. So Team Assassins has, from what I've read, been practicing 10 to 12 hours a day, and they've had a very heavily regimented 16-hour day, 6 days a week for the last 3 months. Excuse me if some of those numbers are not true, but overall, just the point is that they worked an ass ton for this. Okay, they worked like crazy to get this, and that's okay. If it's 16 hours a day for 3 months, that's 1,100 hours, a little bit more than 1,100 hours. Okay, $1 million across 17 members, 5 of which played, but I don't really know what the splits are. Let's just say that they split it evenly. After the team takes 10 to 20%. Okay, so let's say that there's like 115,000 per person.
Okay,
that's about
still a lot.
Yeah, it is. It's about $100 an hour actually. If you take it over those 3 months, it's about $100 an hour. Sounds like a lot, and frankly, it is a lot. Nobody's going to sneeze at that.
7 members, guys, not 17.
It's yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, if I said 17, I apologize. But it's 7 with 5 who played.
Right.
So that sounds great, and it is good for them. But what did second place get? Well, they had to split the rest of the $2 million prize pool, like I said. First place takes half of it. The second half is distributed in some way that I couldn't figure out over the next 7 teams. Let's say that the second place team took $500,000. I don't know. Whatever. That's already half, $50 an hour.
Right. And we haven't even talked about taxes either.
Obviously.
Right?
So $50 an hour. Great. What does the 8th place team get? $10 an hour? I don't know.
$5 an hour.
Just, I don't know. But something like that. Something that is becoming not economical. If I'm going to work 16 hours a day for 3 months, I would hope that I would earn more than $5 an hour. That would just be nice.
Right.
especially
No.
for somebody who, okay, look, you can't be an idiot and win a major competitive game. That's a major strategy game. You just can't be. You have to be an intelligent person who knows how to work hard and can put their minds to something and understand strategy. You're a skilled person. You could be doing a lot of stuff. And in fact, I heard interviews from people who, one of them was like in school and like got the offer to play on Assassins, and he took the offer. Okay, so he and I would think all of them are smart people who could do a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, and
I just don't know that that's an economical proposition. Look, some of my friends that I graduated law school with live in crazy lawyer world. All right, it's not something that I went into, but they did, and they'll do 10 to 12 hours a day pretty regularly. But that's their career. They're going to do that over the whole year, and they're not earning $100 an hour. They're earning some considerable multiple of that. So if you are the kind of person who's very smart and very well motivated and can do stuff like this, you have the leisure time, which represents having the money to do this kind of stuff. I mean, you're in this, socioeconomic area where you can make this stuff happen.
Right.
Those guys, I just can't help but feel like they should have gone into something else. Is what I'm saying.
Well, okay. To be fair, we don't want to belittle what they did, right?
Not at all.
Obviously, they accomplished a lot, and they did get a lot of money. So they're
sure.
very, very happy for these guys, and congratulations to them.
No doubt.
And, Ben is in the chat here, and he's telling us,
cool.
that, they also get salaries, and they get their housing paid for because they live in the houses and such like that.
Right.
So obviously they get a little bit of extra stuff besides just the prize money and stuff.
Right.
But, I think one of the funniest things is when... Dude, you squirted,
did I just squirt you in the eye?
You squirted in my eye, but it's not the first time.
Go on.
But anyway, so the whole thing is we were talking about an interview with Justin, right? How he was talking about some stuff, and sorry, the chat's making me laugh now. But
what?
So he talked about. They asked him, how much do you train?
Right. This was on. He was talking with JP on Real Talk, and he asked Justin that question.
Right, and Justin's response was, "I train maybe 10 to 12 hours a week."
Yeah, I think it was 8 to 10 hours a week. It was some tiny fraction of what the people in League of Legends and Dota and StarCraft train. It's crazy small relative number.
Right, and so. What it really comes down to is Justin is. I mean, dude, we hang out with Justin every once in a while.
Yeah.
We're cool kids, right? We get to chill with Justin and stuff, Ooh. But we go hang out, we karaoke, eat dinner, do all sorts of crazy things, right? And I feel bad that a lot of these players in these houses don't get to do this kind of stuff. I mean, literally, they have no free time. They have one Sunday.
Yo, if you're doing a regimented 16-hour day where you eat what they tell you to eat and you do it when they tell you, that sucks. Okay, look, here's my position is that I love playing video games, but I would hate to do it as a job, and that's my position. And I know that not everybody feels the same way. A lot of people would want to play it as a job, and that's what's going on. So if they really like it that much, more power to them. I think that's awesome. But it kind of when you hear of somebody winning $1 million playing a video game, you think to yourself, I love playing video games. That sounds amazing to do that. But I think that the reality of the situation gets lost in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Only that one team won $1 million, and everybody else was fighting for $1 million amongst themselves in ways that just didn't represent a lot of money when you take into consideration that they had been training for so long. There are all these other things to it. You're living in a house with some dudes. You got to exercise when they tell you to. You got to eat when they tell you to. It's just it's a life that sounds to me like it's very hard. I mean,
let me just put it this way. I know so many people in the game industry. I talk to them all the time, right, who work at game companies. And one of my best friends who is at a game company designed some of the most fun games that in recent memory. He literally said to me, he's like, when I come home from work, I do not want to touch a video game. He's like, I hate video games.
No.
He's like, I get to a point where I do not want to play video games. I want to do anything except play a video game, because he's working 60, 80-hour work weeks, right? And
on video games.
On video games, yeah. And, dude, these guys who are just sitting there playing LoL for like 16 hours a day. I mean, seriously, you can love the game as much as you want.
Yeah.
You can enjoy the life of a pro gamer as much as you want, but that's a job.
Mm-hmm.
You are working. You are not playing at all. You are not having any fun doing this.
I mean, I wouldn't think so. I certainly wouldn't be able to have fun. Let me say that.
And someone argued, that they're all under 20. Well, yeah, they're under 20, which is why they have the willpower and dedication to do this. And I can tell you, as somebody who's gotten as old as I have, that once you start getting past that 24, 25, that willpower starts to wane. And this is where everything starts to get really nervous for me. Because right now, at 19 and 20, this is amazing for them, right? Okay, it's fun right now. And this is actually what my friend told me about the gaming industry. Is like, you can't complain about the hours that you work because there's some 19-year-old jumping into the industry going, I can get money for playing video games. And so you can't complain about your job, because if you do, they fire you and hire these guys. This is exactly what's going to happen to all these pro players, basically. Is when they get 25, they're going to meet somebody, they're going to want to do something, and it's just their life priorities are going to change.
Yeah.
And at that point, now what happens to them? And that is my biggest concern, which is why I've always been wary about a lot of this stuff. This is something that I've always been very, very scared about. I've been scared about what's going to happen to players after. I mean, the way I put it in Twitter, I put it as harshly as possible, which is what happens to top players when they start sucking. I mean, that's just what it comes down to.
You just get dropped, like in anything else.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, we talked about athletes all the time in pro sports that eventually, the players who are like in football and basketball, they're like bankrupt after 5 years. They leave the league. You know?
I forget what the exact stats were, but it was like a majority of basketball players were bankrupt within 3 years.
Yeah.
And I just saw an interesting ESPN 30 for 30 on this, on NFL players. No, I guess it was just pro athletes in general. How they like accrue all these crazy like debts that normal people don't, like, because people are asking for the money constantly, and they have social pressures to spend a lot of money on stuff, so it's not that much. Right. Anyway.
And if I'm not mistaken, the minimum basketball salary right now is like $250,000 a year.
I think it might be higher than that, actually.
So,
but in any case, I've always taken the position that the worst career to have in pro sports is as an athlete, unless you're like Kobe Bryant or like, something like that.
Holy crap.
What?
The minimum salary for a basketball player is $473,000, and these people are broke. And we're sitting here talking about players potentially earning $100,000 a year, and that's only going to be this very small, minute group of them.
Right. So it's a bad position to be the player, because while it's godlike for a little while, once you finish your career, you don't have really much to fall back on. Whereas if you had been a manager or a coach or an executive or an agent or a sportscaster, etc., you have a career, and you can do that until you're 80.
Right.
And you end up making a lot more money over the long term. Whereas the player just kind of gets spit out. Thanks for your time. Go enjoy whatever it is. Maybe we'll give you a tiny pension if you get it in your collective bargaining agreement.
Right.
Otherwise, you're just totally boned.
So this is the interesting part, is a lot of people are talking about. Okay, so let's expand this a little bit more.
Yeah.
League of Legends World Finals happened. Huge stadium, over 1 million concurrent viewers. It was awesome. A spectacle like you can't even imagine. It was amazing.
I watched it. It was cool.
A lot of FGC guys went there and just like, we're playing the wrong game. Oh my God, we'll never get to this point. Blah blah blah. Right?
Yeah.
And it seems really wonderful and stuff like that. So people have started saying like, why don't we just inject money in this? Now our top players can make money and whatever like that. Dude, it's going to be the small percentage of top players is going to make this money, and then their lives are going to be ruined in like 10 years, right? So the thing about it is, like, a lot of people keep asking me, what is it that I'm looking for? What is it I'm looking for? I'm trying to create an industry. I'm trying to create something. The fighting game community needs to be its own, its own thing, because basketball is its own thing, right? There's no giant sports guy, group out there that runs football and basketball and all that. Basketball is its own thing. So when you stop being a player, you become a coach. You become an assistant coach. You become an analyst. You become a talk show guy. You become a college coach. There's different paths that you can go when you're done playing the game. Right now, the problem with the pro gaming scene is there's nowhere to go once you're done being a player, because we're trying to group everybody into one thing. So in other words, if one entity runs every single competitive video game out there,
Yeah.
then the heads of that one group are the only people who are going to benefit from this whole thing. If fighting games were its own thing, RTSs were its own thing, MOBAs were its own thing, and everybody had their own groups running themselves, then the fighting game players, when they're done playing fighting games, can become analysts in the fighting game community. They can be commissioners in the fighting game community, etc., etc.
Like us. That's what I mean.
Yeah, okay,
right?
okay. I thought you were like, shut up, James, I want to say something.
Oh, no. Yeah,
you can become commentators, exactly, right?
I mean, okay, it's not, there's not a big market for it in fighting game community, even if, it's not like we make that much money doing it, it's like, covers costs, right? Like,
Right, yeah. And this is the thing, right? I mean, honestly, every group is responsible for themselves. And, they talked about the Valencia Esports Congress thing, whatever, like that. It's just like I said, there's none of this in professional sports. Football is football. Tennis is tennis. You know what I mean? And that's why I don't care about trying to merge with other groups. Fighting game community needs to be fighting game community. Our problem is not that we aren't letting in esports. Our problem is not that, we're growing too slow. We have so many people who are watching fighting games. We have all this stuff happening. All of our problems in the fighting game community are lying in a completely different area, and it's just because the people who are producing the most popular fighting games right now, I'm not saying that they're always going to be the ones producing them, but they have the wrong model, and they are not paying attention. The reason why games like LoL and StarCraft and all this stuff can succeed is because they have a continued money-making model. And, I'm going to talk about this forever, so let's take a break real quick, okay. And then when we come back, I'll get into it just a little bit. So, all right, we'll be right back.
all right, welcome back to Tuesday, specifically to the binder full of Tuesday.
Exactly.
We're talking about what just happened. What's up?
People
right.
are seeing commercials right now, so we apologize about that.
Yeah, we'll wait until after the commercial.
Yeah, so we can just sit here and sing and dance right now. Da, da, da.
Well, what if people have ad block? I think we're already on right now.
Open Gangnam Style.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure that you're on.
Sorry, dang it.
Okay, so welcome back to a binder full of Tuesday. We're talking about the League of Legends big old tournament that happened just this past weekend where $1 million was handed out to the winning team, and how that got people in the fighting game community thinking about our own scene and how we have nothing like that and really don't have any prospects for anything like that happening in the foreseeable future.
Yeah, and to be honest, before we went on break, I was just talking about how basically I don't think if someone just came and injected money into our scene right now, that would not solve our problems.
Well, it's going to happen, right? So MLG picked up Tekken, right? Or was it IPL? MLG
picked up Tekken. I think Tekken's going to be an all of it.
IPL got DOA.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
And, they've always made hints about getting some other game, too. So there is going to be this money that will be pumped in. And it's been getting pumped in a little bit of a way. Mortal Kombat 9, Soul Calibur 5, King of Fighters 13 have each had time at MLG so far. And even Cross Tekken had that one thing at the IPL shindig. So, it's been in there for a little while.
But it's not helping. That's just the thing, right? I mean, someone actually said to me, like, do you not think Mortal Kombat has benefited from MLG? I'm like, yeah, it's survived a little longer than it probably would have without it, but it's not growing. Yeah. League of Legends is growing.
League of Legends is definitely growing.
MK is not growing.
Yeah.
MK is probably, once Injustice comes out, MK could just, for all we know, disappear off the face of the earth, right? We don't know.
We don't know. Yeah,
honestly. And it's I don't know. I don't see it being helped.
Yeah.
The fighting game community is not going to benefit from an injection of money like this. Oh, prize money? It's not going to do anything for us. The fighting game community, and some people have even said that too, like, we need to move fighting games to the PC market because there's more sponsors and it doesn't matter. Red Bull, all these guys, they don't care about the hardware, they just care about the exposure, right? Yeah. Dr. Pepper, all these guys, right?
Sure.
Nas, energy drinks.
Huh?
They need that's what advertising is exposure, right?
Yeah.
Like, you think Viagra gives a crap about NASCAR or about race cars or whatever, but they're plastered on a car, right?
Oh, yeah, really?
Yeah, dude. So it's just like, dude, it's exposure, right? So that's the way it works. So, that's not the concern. Honestly, the main concern right now is that the main companies that are making our fighting games are Japanese companies, and they are adapting the wrong model. They are just not. The market has changed. The world has changed. Gaming has changed, But
Chris Segley in here.
Yeah, I know, seriously. But gaming has changed, and they need to focus on this tournament scene. This tournament scene and this community concept, it's just a completely different world out there than how it used to be. And, I hinted at this a little bit earlier, how, I talked about that most of us are saying, like, a lot of hardcore fighting game players are like, yo, this is how it was like a long time ago, we should just, blah, 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 and stick. And I feel like the hardcore mentality is also holding us back.
Okay.
I feel like a lot of people need to start thinking differently. Like, I've been crying about unblockables a lot on Twitter.
Yes.
And some people have told me, just like, stop crying about it, just learn to play the game as it is, like we've done in the past, right? I don't think that's the case anymore. I honestly don't think that's the case. That was the case when we played in the arcades, and you can't patch arcades. But in this tournament environment, real sports do this all the time, right? I'm going to go with basketball because I'm a basketball player, right? So, 1 year they lowered the three-point line. They shortened the three-point line. Was it a big mistake? Yeah, it was, and they moved it back the next year, right? But other than that, they come up with other rules to fix problems, right? So, Hack-a-Shack, huge problem, right? Okay, new rule, last 2 minutes of the game, you can't, if you foul someone without the ball, you shoot free throws and keep the ball, right? They're adjusting the rules as it goes. They're trying to keep it as fair as possible. And you know what? Defense has gotten better, so they've had to get rid of hand-checking rules, right? You have to adapt with the time. Even in hockey, right? They got rid of
hockey a lot.
They got rid of the blue line, right? Or the red line. They got rid of the red line to increase scoring, and it's increased scoring, right?
A little bit, yeah.
So stuff like this happens all the time. Tennis instituting instant replay, the crazy camera thing, that the challenge system in tennis now. A lot of people are like, this ruins the integrity of the sport.
Yeah.
No, if a player can get their call validated or know that they were wrong, they play better, right? It's about adaptation because it's a competitive game now. If we were still playing in the arcades and we were still playing for fun, yeah, okay, fine. Let's just learn to deal with role canceling. But in this day and age where the model needs to be based more on these tournament standards, I feel like we do need it. I don't think we should patch like every month. We should have seasons, patch a year, and then like, okay, this patch was a mistake, but we're going to deal with it for a year. And then next year, let's change it, right? How long did AE exist? 1 year. And 2012 came out and patched it, and it's one of the most balanced fighting games out there now. So we can't sit here and say that 1 year is not long enough to patch a game properly, right? And as long as these games keep existing, the patches won't be as drastic, because the longer the game stays out, the more we know what's going to work and what's not going to work. So, like, I would love to, like, it would be encouraging to me to know that Capcom was still looking at UMVC3 and they're going to get rid of TAC Infinites. That would increase my drive to keep playing the game. Yeah. Right?
Well, okay, but think about this. What's Capcom's drive to do that? If they put out a patch for free, then they just wasted a lot of money, really. Yeah. Well, I don't want to go that far. They didn't waste it because they helped create, loyalty for upcoming games and goodwill, and that stuff has value. But they didn't make money doing it. So, I see some people in the chat talking about making a kind of League of Legends style economic model.
Right.
And that is, if you're not familiar with it, it's free to play, but and it's free to use certain champions at certain times. But if you want to use other ones, you got to pay to do it. And if you want to get cool costumes for those, then you got to pay for that. So it's a totally different model than in fighting games, where we get super mad if we have to spend time unlocking a character. Even if it's for free, we just have to spend time in the game. And you can do that in LoL to some extent too. You can play a lot and get up to additional levels and get stuff that way. So that there are a couple ways to do things. You don't have to spend money; it's just easier.
Right.
But that's such a completely foreign model to fighting games.
Right.
My view on one of the reasons that I really like fighting games is that I feel like it's one of the things that really prizes just strategy and evenness. Mm-hmm. And by evenness, I don't necessarily mean balance, because sometimes games aren't very well balanced. Mm-hmm. I just mean that everybody who approaches it has, if you got a quarter back in the day, or if you have an Xbox or a PlayStation now, you got the same thing. It's the same exact game everybody else has. There's nothing, there's no barrier in between starting to play and competing other than learning the game, which every game has. There's no monetary barrier. Whereas in LoL, if you want to get all the champions right away, you just got to pay to do it. There's nothing else to be done. And that, in my view, makes it it makes it so that it's harder to have this evenness, where everybody can play, where the strategy can be advanced in an interesting way. It's more about money, and that makes total sense from Riot's point of view. Obviously, they're making a killing on this thing, especially as the game goes on. And sure, I don't know how many millions of dollars they spent on the past weekend and all the events leading up to it, but certainly a lot of money, many millions of dollars.
Right.
And that kind of thing only makes sense if you're going to make a lot of money from it. Capcom isn't doing that, and Namco doesn't do it, and Warner Brothers doesn't do it, etc. Because the business models are totally different. But frankly, I like those business models more as the player.
Yes.
And I understand that it's a trade-off. If we keep those kind of models, there's much less incentive for the companies to keep going and do stuff with them. Fine. But I'd rather have the game be like that. Yeah. That's why I'm involved with this stuff. Okay, it's not because I'm trying to make a buck. I'm not making a buck. I'm not. So it's a totally different reason, and I just feel like it'd be too bad if fighting games left that. And I know that the alternative is that there's going to be less money involved. That said, there are some companies and some games where they continue to support the game without getting money, direct money. Like Blizzard did that with Brood War, right? Like it kept on putting patches out for years, which was great. But it's a different kind of situation, right? I mean, they saw what was going on in Korea, and you don't leave that kind of thing alone, right? You don't see that there's this giant cultural phenomenon in tournaments that's being developed and completely ignore it. You just don't do it. And so they didn't. Whereas in Capcom fighters and Namco fighters, Warner, etc., Arxis, that's not really the case. Yeah, they know that we're here. Obviously, this weekend Capcom's putting on a tournament, but it's just not. It's not the same thing.
Right. All right. So hear me out on this one. I think that there is a middle ground that the fighting games are not using.
Okay.
I honestly do. Like a lot of people are talking about free-to-play model for fighting games, and someone was joking like, "Oh, I'd buy Cammy first, right?" You know, and stuff like that. No, you can never ever charge for characters for a fighting game, right? But here's the thing, like you could do something as long as there's a couple of steps that need to be taken, right? One, Xbox Live model, patch model needs to die in a fire. Seriously, that needs to go. That shit needs to go away now.
Oh, you mean on Microsoft's part?
Like you could have to pay for this, and it's super hard.
It's a free patch the first time, and then money the second time, and it costs more and more.
That's gonna hold it all back, right? Because obviously on consoles they're not gonna want to update anything because it costs them too much money. Right. Okay. Second thing that needs to change is that the online world of fighting games needs to become more robust. Online world in fighting games right now, I'm not talking about lag. I'm not talking about making a proper environment to play accurately. I'm just talking about the experience needs to be better. Okay. At this point in time, I should be able to, when I'm online, click on my name and see if my record is 187. 187, I should be able to see all 187 matches I've ever played, what character they were using. I should be able to filter that list and say, let me see all the Chun-Lis I played against. What's my record against Chun-Li? Holy crap, I suck against Chun-Li, right? You should be able to filter out, like, I want to fight Chun-Li's, and then people who will play Chun-Li's against you, right? You should have more profile stuff. You should have a way more robust matching system, a much better ranking system, because the ranking system is ass right now. Like, literally, it's just like, PP, BP, whatever. But there's nothing to it. It's just these numbers. Like if you can get to echelons and stuff like that, you just need to create a better online experience. to get more people to play online. Once you get people to play online and start playing online, that's when you have to figure out how to use that model to start making more money to have a constant revenue stream. My idea for this, and this is going to be super controversial, seriously, this is horse armor crap right here, right? I mean, if you remember, one of the very first things on an Xbox Live Arcade game was like $5 horse armor for a game. I forgot which one it was, and like the world went crazy about it, right? And so what I would do is I would have it so that when you go online, you can only pick one color one or two. That's it.
Like that's what Cross Tekken did.
Right. And that's all you could do, right? And they need to make it so it's like 99 cents for a color.
You mean like in Cross Tekken? That was the goal. That was what they planned.
Right. And obviously it wasn't popular in Cross Tekken. But
Yeah.
for one thing, don't let people make custom colors, please. Because custom colors are bad. Because they're just annoying as hell, right? But here's the thing, right? If you do that, no one ever needs to buy it. You can play every game online. You don't have to pay for it, right? But if you have that one color that you really like, you can buy that one color, right? People will do that. I've bought like one things that I like, you know, here and there. And then once you come out with more costumes, like all the other costumes, you would just buy the one costume that you like, the one color of that costume.
Yeah.
I would even go so far as to make it so that when rounds are over, you have special win poses that don't exist anywhere else.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine if you just like if Sakura won and she did Gangnam Style dance?
Okay. Yeah,
Like,
I mean that would be cool.
Someone would see that shit and just be like, okay, I need that. I need that. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
I guess, but I mean that doesn't sound like it's that far off from what companies are currently doing.
Right.
Capcom tried that stuff with gems and with colors and all the other stuff
Right.
in Cross Tekken, and it was a very, pretty dismal failure. It wasn't just because of that. There were other reasons that Cross Tekken failed, but
Right.
I don't think that is certainly not a radical idea in my opinion.
But the gems was a bad idea because gems affected gameplay. Everything that you sell for a fighting game, all this microtransaction model has to be completely not game affecting.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree, but I think you have to recognize that if you're down with that, then you give up a lot of potential interest and money. I mean, part of the reason that LoL is super successful is not just because of the marketing that Riot does, but because the game, the way that it's set up is really pretty ingenious.
Yeah.
You have a sampling of different champions for a while. And if you really like one, and then you don't get to play that one for free anymore, the way that you keep playing is by paying them money.
Right.
And that's a way to drag you in. It's like, here's a little bit of stuff. You know, do you like it? Do you like it? Then you got to pay next time.
Yeah.
And that's a totally different model when it comes to competition. But it's clearly super effective when it comes to making money, and then that money makes it more easy. It makes it easier for Riot to support the scene, and in any case, they have a huge incentive to support it anyway, because it's really just a money-making venture that is in the form of this competitive game.
Right. And honestly, like, my other idea was that all the colors are available to you offline. If you buy a costume, all of the colors of that costume are available to you offline. So if you play with your friends, you can do whatever you want, you know, and such. It's just on the online community when you're playing on the BattleNet, quote, you know, version of fighting games, you know. And like I said, the problem right now is that the enticement to go play online is not very high because the online experience is not fun. You go online, you play people, and you're done. You have lobbies, whatever, like that. But if it's more than that, if you can create this whole experience online, and then people would be more willing to spend their time on there, and then when they spend their time on there, they're going to want to customize their character. I mean, let's face it, people are buying those shirts and stuff for their Xbox Live avatars, you know, when people play games like, you know, like, I'm just going to use this as an example, Maple Story, right? Because, I mean, obviously that's a game that I know, but, you know, they buy a lot of outfits and hats and stuff like that for their characters. It just happens, right? Because people are like, you know what, I'll spend this $1 here, I'll spend this, you know, little bit of money here, this one time to upgrade the character. And that's money that can go into all those hats, all those shirts, all those colors can add up to a patch. And then not only that, if you know the patch is coming, or if you know that they care about your game, that keeps you playing. You know, like a lot of people are probably like, oh, you know what, Street Fighter. Like, I'm at a point right now where I'm like, Street Fighter 4. man, it's gonna go unblockables. I don't want to play this game anymore. I have no interest in this now because it's not what I want out of my fighting games, right? So I've just lost my motivation to play that, right? So if I knew that there was patches coming out, then I would be like, I don't care. I'll deal with this unblockables until the next quote season, and then they'll be gone. Hopefully, you know, I will play with these stupid TAC infinites and this completely, you know, horrible TAC system where there's no punishment for trying it.
Yeah, it sucks. Yeah.
I'll just, you know, I'll deal with it for now because next year they'll tweak it a little bit. And that's what I mean. In this day and age, we need to stop thinking like, oh, deal with stuff. We really need to keep adapting these games so that we keep the interest, we keep playing the game, and it becomes viable tournament-wise constantly. You know, I mean, like I said, sports change rules all the time because they're adapting with the times.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I guess I'm just not sure that is... Look, I think that is a draw to the extent that you already have people invested in the game. If I don't really care that much about Street Fighter, I'm just gonna drop it. Like that intervening year, I'm not gonna be in there, and so when the new one comes out, now it's really hard for me to get back in. And I don't know. I mean, I guess I would be okay if we had every year an update. If 2013, 2014 Street Fighter comes out, whatever. I mean, that's fine, I guess. It's not really what I like. I like having the game have time to breathe and develop organically. You know, but if that has to be given up in favor of a better supported, larger fighting game community, you know, okay, I guess I would make that.
I do want to clarify one thing. A lot of people are like, oh, look at HD remakes and such like that, right? The changes must be very minimal. The changes have to be something that's very small. And in fact, I would like, for example, Zero. If you want to nerf Zero, I would err on the side of caution.
Oh, of course.
Barely nerf him.
Of course.
And if it's still not good enough, then next year nerf him a little bit more. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about wholesale changes here to patches and stuff like that. So, yeah, I don't want to ruin anyone's flow. I don't want to ruin, like, I've been playing Guy forever. Now let's take away this. And you're like, what the hell happened to my character? You know what I mean? Subtle changes. And we're getting to a point now where we are smart enough that we can make these changes. Like, I have faith in the people making, especially seeing what happened between AE and 2012. How many of us were just like, these changes are ass? It's like they're just throwing shit against the wall and seeing what sticks. I said that all the time too. And I
still kind of believe that, but it worked out.
Yeah, I know. Maybe they were lucky. I don't know. But it worked, right? It worked. And so, I don't know. I feel like that it's the right way to go. I mean, baseball bats get better. Tennis rackets get better. You know, technology gets better. Yeah. And so you have to adjust the game to match these kind of things. So.
You know, I'd like to see other stuff too. One of the things that I like about LoL is that when you sign in, there's this whole splash page of the news that's going on. And you can get links to the forums, you can get links to extra resources. If you don't know what's going on, it's very obvious how to find out what's going on.
Right.
And you can find out, you know, news about not just the game itself, but the actual tournament scene. And if you want, you can watch live. I mean, it was so sick, dude. One of the first times that I signed in there, I click on like watch live or whatever the blurb says. I forget now. And Clayky D was playing. He just happened to be playing on the stream that I started watching. Cool. It was amazing. It was so cool. It was very very cool.
Nice.
And I watched him for a while. I just watched him play. He was jungling and stuff. It was really interesting. And man, if I could turn on whatever fighting game right now and watch top players.
If it's like, Yipes is currently on Big 2.
Right? As opposed to having to, you know, I have ASCII internet, so I can't both stream and also play online. I can't. Okay. So if I want to stream something, I gotta stop playing. I have to leave where my console is. I got to go over to where my computer is, and I have to go to twitch.tv/whatever. I have to know the link in advance or find it out somehow, which means that I have to be motivated or already informed. Whereas in League of Legends, you just sign on to that thing. You're already in the place where you're going to be using bandwidth. You're already there, and so you just click on it, and you don't even know what's going to come up necessarily. I mean, you see the players' names, but you just click it, and then now you're watching. It was like 2 steps, and now you can see that there is a tournament community, and B, you can see what passes for tournament play.
Right.
Just like that. It's so easy.
Yeah, and then also games like Capcom companies like Capcom and Namco. Namco's already doing this. World Tekken Federation or Foundation, I forget which one it is, but they have all those stats tracking. They got all this cool system and stuff like that. I mean, it needs to be more. It needs to be more, but they need to build stuff into games to be like for example, like Persona. Like the fact that there's no rematch is just like, what the hell are you thinking? Like this is the worst. That was such a terrible oversight. But like Capcom games need to just have it so that it's like start a 3 out of 5 set, start a 2 out of 3 sets, and the number is automatically there in the corner.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Why do the streamers have to update stuff?
I don't know.
Like
that's a good question.
Stuff like that. After the round is over, stats should just be on the screen, like number of EXs used, number of EXs connected, and stuff like that. And then there should just be a delay before they can click rematch, so commentators can talk about the match a little bit or something.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. But...
Well, I know, but just, this is what I'm getting at, is that there needs to be special builds of the game designed for this. I mean, when Blizzard makes StarCraft 2, they put into the game that you can watch it without the fog of war, right? So that you can do commentary on it and stuff like that. Right. Those are the kind of things that these companies need to start doing. It
would be awesome.
And they're just not thinking about it. And you know what the problem is? All these ideas that we're talking about here, it's just like I just don't see it happening because we're dealing with Japanese companies here.
That's a huge problem, but it's not just them. Warner Brothers is an American company, and NetherRealms is an American company, and they're making Injustice. And in my opinion, they're doing some really horrible things for a competitive game. It looks like the gameplay itself in Injustice, I think, looks really cool. Or very interesting is what I should call it. But they have these long cinematics that are like everywhere, dude. The wager system is forever. The busting through walls is forever. The supers are forever. It's like this really weird thing where it'll suck you in the first time you watch it, and the second time you don't care about it, and then the millionth time you just blank out during that time. So it's not. They also are not designing games with that mindset.
Yeah, so. I'm telling you right now, when Solomon Grundy punches Batman through all those buildings, and it's like Batman, bam, 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 thud. Solomon Grundy, like.
Right? Isn't that stupid? He ran the whole way. Oh, I see.
It just makes me laugh, and it really takes me out of the game. I mean, honestly, it does, because it just seems so stupid. Silly. So.
I mean, they are doing stuff. Somebody points out, Desert of Sand points out, they're including frame data in the pause menu. That's great.
That's awesome.
They are doing stuff, and they've specifically said that they're trying to make a tournament fighter, and they're getting recommendations. Great. This is an excellent step, but they're so far away from doing the things that we just talked about. Think about the Mortal Kombat 9 button check. Okay, that was just the balls. That was the worst. It was the worst button check. And it came out in like 2010. Why?
Right.
So it's far. There's no sign that they're going to do anything, or even, I don't even know if it's technically possible that you can do this in-game streaming situation. Is that even a thing on a console? I don't even know if you can do that.
Yeah, that would be awesome for Twitch, right? I mean, if they...
Oh, it'd be amazing. I mean,
Twitch, right?
I know that Twitch, I believe, does have something on the Xbox, but you got to go to home for it.
Right. Yeah, I just mean like in-game. Like these games can do a partnership with Twitch and access all the Twitch channels.
Exactly.
And you put in the game name. It should automatically have the game name right in there, right?
Right.
So
I mean, I feel like that would do a huge part. But I still got to go back to the thing that, obviously... This is not going to inject as much money as being able to afford $1 million for the first prize team. It's just not going to get there in the foreseeable future. I don't see that happening. Even if we do all the things that we just talked about, we're not going to have that much money because we're not. The business model is not this one that sucks you in like a drug addict. It's just not that way, and it's not going to be that way.
Not for a long time. But the thing about it is. People love watching fighting games.
Well,
fighting
certainly
games
they love watching.
Amazing, and so the potential is there. It can get there. It can 100% get there. And the problem is, we need to build this bridge, right? But literally, we have no materials. We have straw. We have hay, and we're trying to build a bridge out of these twigs.
Right.
Like, we cannot build this bridge until we get the stone and the wood and the tools to modify them and stuff like that. And all those tools aren't there. If we can get those tools, we won't get to the LoL levels. We aren't going to reach League of Legends World Finals. But you know what? We don't need to. That's not the I don't care if we get that big.
Yeah, I agree.
But as long as we can get a fraction of the way there, if we're 60% there,
if we are 10% there, that is to say, if we get 100,000 people on a stream that happens to happen one weekend,
right?
Well, rather than a million.
The LoL finals is pretty equatable to Evo.
Well, okay,
and
maybe you're right.
We got a ton of people watching Evo, right? So
okay, you're right. But let's say, what about the tournaments that get 250,000 on the regular? You know, they get 500,000.
Right.
Not it's I don't want to say not uncommonly, but it's happened more than a couple of times, and it's just not the case like that. So if we get 20% of that, awesome. We're so much farther ahead than we are now.
But it's also tricky too because they could say $1 million divided by 7. Whereas, like for us, if we said we're going to award you $115,000, it doesn't sound as cool as $1 million.
You are quite right about that. But Capcom announced a $500,000 tournament series throughout a year, and we went gaga over that. Whereas at one tournament they handed out $2 million in prizes. Right. So it's
We're still got a long way to go.
Super far away.
Long way to go.
Yeah.
But we can do it. I firmly believe it. I know I'm Mr. Optimist.
I don't think we'll do that.
I don't think we can get that level.
Okay.
I don't think we can get to 2 million. I don't even know if we can get to 1 million. But if we could just get to a point where, you know, we have these great productions and people are watching. But like I said, it's just going to take a different model. It's going to take a different model because it has to be a sustainable income model for these online computers. And they have to do it in the way that they're not screwing us over like gems.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I definitely agree with that. But you know what? I think this is great. Salty JRad says, why compete with esports? Why can't we just be to FGC? 100%, man. I totally agree with that. I don't think that we need to compete. I don't necessarily think that we are competing. And yeah, I'm totally down with that.
I don't want to compete with them at all. Like I said, we're different entities, right? I mean, yeah, okay, in a way, basketball, football, you know, baseball.
Yeah, I mean, they sort of compete a little bit, but
really they don't.
It's kind of a stance.
Right.
It's not really direct.
They're not actively trying to take each other down or prop each other up.
Yeah.
That's just what we need to do. Like, if we're the hockey of the competitive gaming world, whatever, that's fine. Stanley Cup is still awesome, right?
It's the best.
You know? Yeah, exactly. So, you know, as long as there's enough dedicated people who love what we do, we're good. And we have all these people who can make careers out of playing hockey, and they become analysts and they become coaches and stuff like that.
Yeah, we'll see.
So
we'll see.
If we can do that, I'm down.
It took professional sports in the U.S. about 100 years to get to its first $1 million per year player. I still think that we have to be more realistic about the time scale of things.
Yep.
So.
I don't think you and I are ever personally going to benefit from it getting there. Let's just put it that way.
Not a chance, buddy.
So people have to understand we're not saying all this stuff because we want to make. Dude, there's no chance for us. We're paving the way for somebody else.
Which is cool, man. I'm happy to do that.
Yeah.
So all right, we've been going for a good hour and 40 now. So.
Actually, no, because we started 15 minutes late.
Hour and 30. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that about it?
Yeah, I think.
Close it out. Enough
good,
rambling for one night. I don't even know what my points were. What were my points again? I don't remember. All right, so
the 5-frame change on the throw is not going to help.
That's right. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah, it's not that big a deal. So.
All right, we'll see you next week on Monday for Level 3 Focus and First Attack at 8 p.m. Pacific Time. As always, we'll be at the Wednesday Night Fights, which is tomorrow.
Yeah, for the season finale of Wednesday Night Fights too. So.
That's right, and we'll be this weekend at the Street Fighter 25th Anniversary Tournament in Los Angeles for Super Turbo, Third Strike, Street Fighter 4, and Street Fighter Cross Tekken.
Yeah, and this is a little early, but the week after that, obviously, Canada Cup is going to take place. Week after that, it's going to be UMACon.
I'll be there.
A lot of awesome events coming up, so it's going to be really cool.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. See you next time.